Okay, so let's talk about 3.3, section 3.3, and survivorship curves. Okay, so survivorship curves are lines that show the survival rate of a cohort. And a cohort are organisms that are grouped by their age. So individuals of a population that are grouped by their age. In a population, so we're looking at a population from birth to death. So, a faster drop in the line, like as we can see here, we have a lot of survival over a certain age period. And then as the population of individuals ages, the death rate starts to increase because if we look over here, this is the number of survivors on a logarithmic scale. But as the population of individuals age, we can see that the survival rate is going to decrease. The number of survivors are going to decrease until we get to an age with humans. Like some of our oldest living humans are 100 and some years old currently, and so we have very high survival with type 1 organisms at the younger ages, but as they start to age, they begin to die off. Okay, this slower drop in line equals a longer average lifespan. So we can look at this and see that type 1 individuals overall are surviving further. Their lifespan is longer, or they're surviving for more years over, say, a type 3 individual. Type 2 individuals, there tends to be a steady decline in the population or this number of survivors. So a lot of babies don't make it. Also, a lot of individuals are being preyed upon or whatever, and so that's going to be a steady decline in the population size or the number of survivors for that population. And then lastly, we have type 3 individuals where there's a big drop off at the beginning. So organisms are first born, hatched, generally fish. I think of fish, I think of sea turtles. They drop off substantially at the beginning of their lives, and then a few of those individuals survive into adulthood or into this longer lifespan. So, to describe these in more detail, type 1 organisms, they are mostly K-selected species. There's a high survivorship early in life due to a lot of parental care. High survivorship in midlife because they generally have a larger body size, and they also have some type of defensive behavior that they've adapted to or evolved with. And then there's a rapid decrease in survivorship as the population ages into an older age, whatever that age might be. In mammals, that tends to be very long. In other species that are considered type 1 organisms, that might be a shorter lifespan, like maybe 20 years versus 150 years. And then, oops, let me go back to that slide. And then type 2, you find some organisms that are R selected, some that are K, or if we talked about R and K kind of being on a spectrum, then these organisms are somewhere in between the extremes of R and K. And so there's a steady decrease survivorship throughout life. So the survival rates are decreasing as we move through the lifespan. And then type 3 individuals are almost always R selected species. They have a very high mortality when they're born for whatever reason, and low survivorship. And that's what a high mortality basically is, low survivorship. So we see that survivorship curve drops very rapidly early on in the lifespan. That's mainly because there's little to no parental care. So it's kind of like sea turtles are born and they kind of fend for themselves. And those that make it, some don't even make it to the ocean. They get killed on the beach by birds or whatever, crabs, whatever. And then those that actually get to the water, very few. I mean, they have lots of other hurdles they have to jump through to survive. And then very few actually make it to adulthood. So few make it to midlife. There's a very steady decline in survivorship throughout midlife for a variety of reasons. And then very few make it to adulthood. So there's a very slow decline in survivorship in old age because there's already not a lot of species surviving. And those that do tend to have pretty good survivor skills. And so, anyway, examples of that would be fish, plants, insects, those sorts of things. Okay, so if you have any questions about this, make sure you ask me in class. And the practice FRQ is let's describe the trend in survivorship shown in this graph. For survivorship, they like to give you the AP test a lot of data or some graphs or pictures even, and then justify which type of survivorship curve these data represent. So is that a type 1, type 2, or type 3? And next time we'll be talking about 3.4 carrying capacity. So make sure you read up on that before we begin those notes. Okay, that's it for now. See you next time.